Hey, this is the second video. I did a video about things I love about comics, and I asked you, what do you love about comics? I got amazing responses, so many. In fact, this is the second video to make sure everybody has a lot of these comments. Think of this like super chats, but you don't have to pay anything. So it's awesome. You make the comment, I reply, and we have a good conversation. This way it should be. I'm going to do more of this because it's fun. And if I don't have any ideas, it's an easy video, right? Anyway, let's get into it. Hey everybody, this is Perch, talking about things you love about comics. We had some great comments. I did a first video about it. This is the second one. We're heading right into, right off the bat with Firevine, and he, I think, writes, there's a picture of a dude with a line for the icon, so I'm assuming I don't know anyway. This person says, number one, how easily one can make a friend through comics. This is an awesome point, by the way. A few months back, I went to a shop that I long knew existed but had never been to. I was able to strike up a conversation with the owner and chat about comics like we were old friends. So true. You can go to comics, and with either customers or shop owners or anything, you can immediately just pick up a conversation and have a great debate, a dialogue. Rarely do I see those conversations devolve into a fight. It's almost always friendly. It's almost always productive. People leave the store feeling bigger, feeling like they're having a good time and making friends. And that's the thing that we cannot recreate on YouTube or other places. I want to try this way, but this is amazing about comics. Number two, some stories are just timeless. I've read the Infinity Gauntlet probably 15 times. I enjoy it every time. I've read this about 25 times. So there. No, I agree that there's absolutely some amazing timeless stories, and those are the best ones. Number three, there are things you can do with the medium doesn't translate to other mediums. In the first video, we talked a lot about this. This is a comment that almost everyone has had, and it's true. Number four, Kirby Crackle. I mean, who doesn't love Kirby Crackle? I'm with you. Number five, nostalgia. When I read an old comic, I see ads for toys, a cartoon, whatever else as a kid. Seeing old Dungeons and Dragons ads are great. Absolutely. Now, this is something that I think the trade paperbacks ignore, and I wish that a lot of them would have a back matter material. In some cases, they'll reprint the variant covers or other things, but I wish they reprinted some of those ads, because some of those ads are part of the experience. They're incredible. I love that part of comics. What a great comment. Commander Cody writes, number one, art. I love the art on interiors and covers. I mean, yeah, art is where it's at. Splash pages, number two, kind of go hand in hand in art. Yeah, a great splash page is amazing. It gives you this boost. It's an uplifting feeling. A great splash page goes a long way. Number three, timeless stories. I love how reading a story can be more as you age and mature. This is true. There's a lot of comics I read as a kid, didn't really understand or appreciate, and then as time went by, it changed. He mentions that my father died in 2014. Sorry for your loss. As odd as it sounds, the pain that Bruce Wayne feels in losing his parents is real to me now. Absolutely, you go through things with life. For me, having children changed a bunch about that, about how comics are read, and kind of the sacrifice experience took on new meaning. Number four, community. I love talking comics with other people. Number five, nostalgia. It's crazy to me how reading a comic from the Silver Age can transport a person back in time. Kind of like the last comment. It's the ads, the whole thing. Nostalgia. I think comics has pure nostalgia. It's not like Michael Bay, trying to inflict new nostalgia on you, or trying to, give you this feeling of nostalgia. It's actual nostalgia, and it's a more pure, it's a good feeling, I think, especially when you can go back and read those comics. It just transports you. Bronze Age Kid says, my personal top five would be the sense of community, local comic shop. Agreed. Number two, independent creators put 100% of their heart and soul into the comics they make, most of the time for very little profit, if any. I mean, absolutely, this is a labor of love. They say comics will break your heart, kid, but maybe comics will, give you a heart too. I don't know. It sounds kind of cheesy, but that's what I think. Number three, the primitive nature of the art form, that fully realized masterpiece can still be created with nothing but a pencil, ink, and paper. Yes, it's the old cave drawings that are still relevant to how we communicate and express ourselves. Number four, the speed at which a lot of comics are made to meet monthly deadlines, which results in a more pure and immediate form of expression, whether it winds up working or not. That's true, and it's often overlooked. I mean, the amount of content, the speed, the deadlines, the pressure, and all that, there's something magical about that. It's like you're reading sweat on the page. I mean that in a good way, not a gross way, but yeah. Number five, the fact that no matter how hard television and movie makers try, they can never adequately reproduce the magic of the comics. It's true. There's been a lot of great adaptions, but they're not the comics. Sketchosaurus Rex, who leaves a lot of great comments all the time. He mentions stories. He talks about Marvel and DC, and the Council of Reed, Infinite Universes, Celebrity Family, this stuff. And this is where I often hear when I hear writers say it's hard to do a Superman story, or Superman's hard to write, or so is Captain America, because what can you really do with them? A great writer can do amazing things. People have said that about the Fantastic Four. What can you do with the Fantastic Four? It's a boring old family. And there's amazing things you can do. You can do with it. Number 2, art. My favorite part of the medium is the visual aspect. Most of the story can be seen on the page, and just the different takes, the imagination you get with it. Number 3, and I know this is one of those controversial terms, but he's absolutely right. Diversity. So many different people have a story to tell, and have been forever. America mostly has superheroes. France is far different from what Japan makes, and there's all these different diverse stories and creators and ideas, and that's you rarely see such a mix, and you see diverse ideas come to the same characters. It's that concept of the ongoing story with different voices. That's also very incredible. He mentions characters from witty, sarcastic punks to tortured souls looking for redemption, naive, altruistic good guy girl to jaded, scarred, weathered by experience old grumps. So many fun characters, tropes, and stereotypes. That's one reason why I think, and comics absolutely has this. You're absolutely right. At the same time, when you see a lot of characters just written the same way, it's probably why I'm hard on Bendis, to be honest with you. It's when the characters all sound the same. It's like you're giving away one of the magical, amazing parts of comics. Number 5, the comic shop. I truly love going to buy physical comics in the store. Man, and nowhere is that more true than in the time where we can't. The pandemic has robbed that from us, and it's painful. Just painful, because that's a major part of the experience. Jorge Cleo says, I love your take on comics, which is not a list, but I'm going to take it anyway. Good for you. I thank you. Marvin Harrelson Smith II says, 5 things I love about comics: the genre variety, superhero, war, crime, mass vigilante, western, horror, sci-fi, barbarian, etc. You get a little bit of everything. And absolutely, that's absolutely true. Number 2, right about now, my daughter's in the other room, just put on some terrible pop music. And I'm guessing Alexa, that's brutal. Hopefully that's not coming through on the video. I promise that's not me. Number 2, easy access to historical work. When I was a kid, if you missed an issue, that was it. You never saw it again unless it wound up in a used bookstore. Nowadays, the amount of reprints, collected editions, and online archiving is astounding. That is 100% true. And as a kid who collected comics in the late 70s, the 80s, there was a feeling of loss. If you missed it, you'd have to go to the comic shop and back issue dive, and then sometimes that was fun in of itself. You get this missing puzzle piece of a story, and you finally get to read it, and there's some excitement to that. But the trade of now being able to just have your hands on everything whenever you want it is pretty awesome. And of course, we don't fully have that because we don't have a perfect digital story, but much easier today. And I still miss those days of discovery. I guess that's my nostalgia. I love being able to go and find those missing puzzle piece of comic books to a run that I was missing. I love that moment. But I would happily trade it for being able to just have access to everything. Number 3, high series numbering. I'm sick of all the remuneration, endless stream of number 1 issues. Yeah, I'm with you. I do. I've given up a little bit. It's happened so much. It's almost like you defeated me, publishers. But I do love those big numbers. Seeing them on there just makes me feel like we're on. Like you said, these comics stood the test of time. Number 4, I like the modern paper stock in comics. This is an unusual one, but you're absolutely right. The modern paper stock is pretty good. People have said that the ink can rub off, and there's problems with that with some companies, but it's been tough. If you collected comics back in the 70s and everything, I remember you would grab one from a shop, you put it on your bike, you'd ride home, and then it was hot outside, so where you touched it, like the comic's now permanently warped, and it's just the colors do pop. I think it does, and in some cases when the art isn't fully up to speed, that good paper and the good color is a negative because it almost exaggerates the problems. But anyway, number 5, I like the freedom afforded in comics to push boundaries. I like that publishers are no longer bound by the constraints of the Comic Code Authority. I'm worried that the mainstream titles are pushing the envelope too far into adult comics, and that for ever to become a mainstream industry again, comics will have to adopt some new code in order to get their books in the stands. Yeah, I think comics is going to have a rating system. Actually, I do think it's coming. I don't think it'll be the Comics Code Authority, but I think there's going to be a rating system. It feels like that's coming at some point. Jason Colby writes, the one thing I love about comics, the endless continuing conversation about the endless continuing story. Being able to participate in this conversation is the only reason I'm buying current Marvel and DC comics. Otherwise, I just wait the respective 6 to 12 months for them to show up in the unlimited apps. But I want to chat with people about whether the latest Iron Man run is going anywhere and who the designer might turn out to be, and if Dick is still Rick, and 1,000 other things. That's true. And it's a way we connect. And many times I bought comics or collected comics that I didn't necessarily like, but I wanted to be part of that connection, that conversation. And I think that speaks to the power of comics and everything they can be. Great comment. Dante Chronogini says, superhero comics' greatest strength and weakness is a bunch of creative teams that work on them. You see a lot of versions. Some contradict each other. Some work off what the other did and build something that no other medium can make. And that's absolutely right. Absolutely right. I think even if I hate a creator on a run, and I'll give you a specific example. I didn't care for Tom King's Batman. I just, there was parts where it had some potential, as I've done videos in the past, but it wound up in a mess. And I just didn't care for it. But what I do love is being able to say, here's Denny O'Neil, here's Frank Miller, here's Jim Lee, here's Scott Lobdell, here's Scott Snyder, I'm leaving off some amazing people. Here's Tom King, here's Tinia, here's a bunch of creators who've done Batman stories, all with different voices, and the sum or the whole is greater than the individual. So even if I didn't like a particular run, I love seeing all these facets of the character, both from an art side, from a writing side. I think that where else can you get just such amazing complexity of creators telling stories with the same characters and be able to see all these different takes and be able to pick and choose what we like and what we don't like. That's something wholly unique and awesome if you think about it. Finally, to wrap up, Larry from Larry's Comics writes, you're my YouTube comic news angel. Oh, thank you, Larry. God bless you. This has been a lot of fun. I encourage you to go check out that video. I'll try and remember to leave it in the description. I probably won't. And add some other comments. We'll do this more often. Again, thank you for all your non-Superchats. I appreciate all the comments. It's great to talk to you. And more than anything, if I could have one wish, it'd be to snap a finger, have a convention with all of you, be able to have this conversation, rent out a restaurant and just, drinks on the house, and let's have a great conversation about comics. And it's an amazing field. I love it very much. And I love that I get to spend this time with you guys. So that's a lot of love. Thanks to you, everybody, for listening. Like, subscribe as always. Follow me on Twitter or Facebook at Comic Perch. Thank you for responding. Thank you for listening. We're in this together.